I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Nero, can you please call roll?
Tyler Bates. Here. Warren Chismar.
Here.
Jack Dawson.
Here.
Elizabeth Johnson.
Here.
Terry Loud.
Here. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This is a time for public participation during, no, actually not this meeting because it's a special meeting. If you can correct that, please. And we're on for new business.
So for the first item, this is a motion for the board to approve and adopt the tentative agreement reached between the South Range Education Association and the Board of Education retroactive to effective July 1, 2025 through June 27. So the 2-year contract going back 25 to 27. I think you have to do a first, second read, and then I can discuss.
Just need a motion.
I'll move.
Need a motion.
I'll move.
Jack moves. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tyler seconds. All in favor? All right, please discuss that.
Okay, so just before we begin, I'd like to show the board that the contracts today's agenda represent about 80 to 90% of our staff, and for each contract, parties participated in good faith negotiations to ensure everyone benefited with that negotiation process. With the certified agreement, going back, that process began last January and ended near the end of the school year. For the first part was with payroll. That was an area which Mario could talk a little bit more about a certain aspect of payroll and what we negotiated.
You just go on coordinating with the union on.
So, no, I'm sorry. So based off the ESC meeting we had last week, I actually need to take this. It's regarding a possible emergent case
Take
of
it.
a patient.
Oh,
Yeah, take it.
So I know this is not good.
No, go ahead, take it.
No,
Go ahead.
Yep, I'll be right back. Hey.
Yeah, just had to do with coordinating with the union on addresses and sharing information. So that's all that first one was.
You want me to continue or wait?
Waiting for Jack.
Yeah, I was going to wait.
Well, let's wait for Jack.
Okay.
What are the odds? We just talked about.
I know, we just talked about that.
Aren't allowed out of their contract. Now, boards can allow them out, but some schools could opt not to allow a teacher to leave. So with this time frame, we talked about that in negotiations, saying, hey, in the summer months, let's kind of work on this because we want to get a good candidate, good pool of candidates. With tutors, we negotiated an increase in pay and the hourly rate for tutors. And then for professional development, so there was a lot of language on certain committees, and if you didn't have certain numbers of people on that committee, then you couldn't have a meeting. And we work really collaboratively here in the district, so we work together to basically take out a lot of language and put in what PD will look like. Like, we want to meet with teachers. What do we need for professional development, and then we'll plan that PD. So we negotiated that change of language. For salaries and benefits, effective the length of this contract, we negotiated a 3% increase in each year. So 3% the first year to 3% second year. And with the supplementals, there were a whole host of supplementals that we negotiated to increase supplementals. We have a lot of coaches in the district, not just coaches, but directors and so forth, that we negotiated increases in supplementals. We also negotiated certain clubs weren't being filled anymore, or certain, like, it morphed from when the contract was first signed. A lot of times contracts were rolled over year after year after year. So some of the things when you're going through, it's like, we don't even have that anymore. Or so a lot of the conversations when you get to supplementals are like, hey, let's do this instead of that with that position, and then you can increase this. So this whole section, we did a lot of that conversation to increase supplementals and then to remove supplementals that were not being filled anymore. With extended day contracts, we negotiated changes in extended day contracts. Like for example, special education teachers, depending on caseload, they can have more time if they need time to work on their caseload. And if your caseloads are smaller, obviously you would have less time to work on that caseload. And there are certain days in here that we negotiated and agreed upon mutually. Continually, there are certain positions that we negotiated that might not have a team. So in the event that one coach is working with multiple like boys and girls, there's a set percent. But if there's a big turnout for that sport, then teams will be split and then certain percents will be earned based on that participation. So creative way to like, hey, if you only have 4 kids versus if you have 20, to have an assistant or a head coach versus 1. I'll let Mario talk about plan design changes to insurance. We had a lot of conversations about plan design to insurance. The negotiations started early and often with the Teachers Association. We had 4 insurance meetings. We had really healthy, really positive conversations about insurance that led to some of these changes.
So the co-insurance still sit at 12%, 80% for board share. The deductible was increased by a little bit. Co-insurances, I think, stayed roughly the same. One of the bigger changes was trying to increase some for emergency room visits. Some were not considered emergency, so trying to entice people going to an urgent care instead of emergency room. So we changed the deductible for those in some of the areas. So it helped when we went to get our insurance renewal in August with some of these changes. So we got a very minimal increase in insurance rates last year. So working with the union on that as we will in the future to help keep insurance prices.
Can you explain why we looked into different insurances, why we upped the deductibles, that way people have an idea?
Just to put a little more skin in the game, and then the insurance company knows we're trying to make changes to show that we're trying to help offset some of their costs. So they, by doing that, helped work with our rep lower, help with not as big increases, because for a few years there we weren't making plan design changes. Our rates were pretty high. I think we had a 12% and a 14.6. So the last 2 years with plan design changes, we actually dropped, I think it was roughly 2% in the very minimal increase this year, less than 1% with the plan design changes. So by doing that, it has been helping us with insurance, with the insurance rate increases over the years.
Okay, and the negotiations were with the teachers union along with administration and the people members, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Over how many months?
We started in January and finished in May, and very collaborative throughout the process. We would meet, and we met several hours off campus. It was really healthy, really good conversations throughout the process. Looking at, we even talked about in the future, there's a shortage of teachers nationwide. Some of the best staff members are the oldest, right? All these years of experience. So we had conversations on possible retire, rehire. So we added language that if the board were ever to choose to go down this road, there's language in there to consider. And it was really good dialogue between us. So it doesn't say we have to do it. It says the board can consider, if there's a specialty position that's really hard to find, like a Chem 2, or I'm making up like really rigorous courses it's hard to find, then we could consider. But it doesn't force the board to do a retire, rehire. It just allows you to have the option.
That was new to this contract?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't allowed to do that prior to.
There was
Not
older.
on this contract, but on few other contracts past.
Thank you. Yeah.
You
So
did
the
this.
language of the old contract was actually from a couple contracts ago, so it wasn't even applicable.
Okay.
So when we kind of looked at that and the teachers brought it to us, we were like, yeah, let's look at it. And obviously the board was, open to really revising it. So it needed changed. And then through the conversation, we were like, hey, if this is something we're interested in, let's make it where we have, we're adaptable, if we need to be adaptable.
I think about 2 or 3 contracts ago is when we allowed retire, rehire, and it just changed within, I think, the 6-7 years.
Yeah, it had a date in there, no later than September
We
1st,
talked about
2015.
that. You talked about that. You and I.
Oh, yeah, we did.
So then moving forward, we have, so one of the things right now, we have a lot of teachers that work with students on their planning period for credit recovery, not necessarily for tutoring, and they weren't being compensated. So we felt it was very important. No, teachers, you're doing this. Let's give you some compensation for it. So we put in a nominal amount for that compensation. We added in times for conferences, so it's contractual when parent-teacher conferences, because it was again old language. We kind of caught it and updated it, and that's it.
Any questions?
I have a couple things to add. First of all, I just want to say thank you to both you, Mario, union representatives. The negotiations over this past time went smoother. I feel that it was something that we can build upon. I know there was change in leadership with the union, but I feel that everything went smooth. I know I pushed the issue for supplemental increases, and was glad to see that got done, because what our coaches and our people who do all the extra stuff do for this community and these students is second to none. So I wanted to see an increase in that, and I'm glad to see that got done. Health insurance continues to be a major part of our budget. It's uncontrolled. It's out of our control. So by taking a look at and seeing what we could control inside of that, by doing plan design changes and little things that we're able to save a lot of money, and it really was kind of at minimal cost to our membership. And I say that, I just want to say thank you for everybody for getting on board with that. And again, just the collaboration was a lot better. And I was glad to see that. I just feel like we're in a better spot after this negotiations than the past one. So I think we learned a lot, and want to say thank you for your efforts to both you and the leadership. So.
Yeah, I guess we're all kind of throwing things in here. I'll second that. Second time around went much better, and if I could summarize it, at least in my thoughts, it was we were able to provide an economization of what needed to happen for budgetary purposes, but also there was appropriate compensation for teachers and other individuals who were well-deserved earnings that needed to come. And I realize the environment may look a little bit different now, but my intention is to honor what we talked about, because what we gave them was deserved.
Yeah,
That's my feelings on it.
and that's, as far as I know, and I've heard, that 3% was the highest raise we were able to give them in a long time, in the duration of the contract, right? So it's 3% year over year. So that's huge, and I feel our teachers do a great job. So
They do a fantastic job.
being able to give them the raises, the biggest raises they've had in a long time. I don't know if ever. I don't know the history, but yeah, it's good to see.
Okay, motion to approve and adopt the tentative agreement reached between the South Range Education Association and the South Range Local School Board, retroactive to the effective date July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
I'll move that.
Mr. Nero, can you take a roll call?
Along with that first one, what is the move?
Jack and then Tyler.
Tyler.
Okay. Mr. Dawson?
This is a yes, correct? Yes.
Tyler Bates? Yes. Or Chismar?
I do want to say thank you very much for that discussion, as I wasn't here in the summer, so I'll vote yes for that.
Elizabeth Johnson?
Yes.
Terry Lally?
Yes. On to the next. Tentative agreement between the South Range Classified Employees Association and the South Range Local School District Board of Education.
So the same, so after we negotiate, or actually simultaneously, we also negotiated with the classified group. And the same type of process. We sit with them, very collaborative through many months. We started a little later with them as we were getting the teachers. We had a lot of time with the first negotiations, so we started the second negotiations. And a lot of it this time was really centered on, we increased daily rates. So that was huge. There's language here for tier 3 drivers with sick days, personal days, calamity days, holiday days are now eligible for a permanent route, which wasn't the case before. So meeting with the Drivers Association, we then increased drivers and gave them, instead of a set amount, we wanted to make it worth their time to take extra trips. So some drivers were not even getting what their daily rate was, they were getting less, so it wasn't encouraging extra trips. So we put it at their hourly rate, just thought it was fair, and they were, like I said, very collaborative in that whole process too. Drivers for extra trips will receive at minimum 4 hours of that work to be paid, and like I said, with that hourly rate. Continuing with maintenance repair for trips, we gave them the hourly rate. There was a set amount of money there, and again, it wasn't really worth that time for the drivers. So here, a lot of this was increased hourly rate to go through this whole agreement. We did take a lot of time to talk about winter break and summer break extra trips, because that was not in the contract at first. So the language in here is trips will be assigned equitably, and then the driver has to be willing and available to full-time drivers. And then if the full-time driver can't take it, then the director of transportation can assign it to other drivers. There's a list of drivers, and they'll rotate so that over time, if you're on a holiday trip, you don't have to come in and take a trip that if you say no, then you can give it to somebody else. Continuing with this, we also negotiated a 3% and a 3% for everyone except custodians. Custodians are on a separate dollar amount. And Mario can talk more about the actual percent, but they actually got a little bit more than 3% because, again, their hourly rate's a little bit different. We also negotiated insurance plan design with the classified staff as well. Same plan design as the teachers. We then we have a new call-off system that we negotiated, so they don't use HR kiosk anymore. There's a whole separate platform that we have to negotiate. Do you have anything to add with the classified?
No, yeah, insurance changes mirrored the teachers. That's why, because usually starts a bit after the teachers, because since the teachers is a bigger group, usually start with them conversations and go from there. The salary increases, it was just that first year, we wanted to bring it up to the one column to $15 an hour for the custodians, and then they got the 3% the following year. Just because it was hard for them to fill certain roles when they came to us, because they were getting offered for a certain hourly rate somewhere else that some people weren't filling the open positions. So. And then it was, not as much as the other people.
Just one question. So on the custodians, since we upped the base rate for starting, did we also increase our regular custodians also?
Yeah.
It was for all three.
Okay.
And that was 3%, you said?
Not the
It was
first
like,
year.
it was roughly, it was $1 for each.
So it's like
For each
7,
column.
I think 7%.
Oh,
I can't remember.
So it's like,
just
so
the
one
base
might have
rate.
been,
Okay,
Yeah.
So one was like,
understood.
Any comments or concerns?
No, I was in agreement. Thank you for sharing or reiterating the details of that here.
Motion to pass approve and adopt tentative agreement between the South Range Classified Employees Association and the South Range Local School District Board of Education, retroactive to be effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Liz moves. Jack seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, please take a roll.
Elizabeth Johnson,
Yes.
Jack Dawson,
Yes.
Tyler Bates,
Yes.
Laura Chismark.
Once again, thank you for the discussion, as I wasn't here last year, so thank you. Yes.
Terry Lally.
Yes. Next, contracts.
So this is essentially, do we have to do the motion first, or do we?
No, it's discuss the
Yeah, so
contracts.
we're gonna discuss the contract regarding superintendent, correct?
Yes.
That's the one we're on.
Well, I took the opportunity, our former president, before, was it 4 years ago? With our former superintendent, we didn't even have a superintendent evaluation. And our former president made sure we came up with a evaluation for the superintendent. So we went to the superintendent standards, which I knew because of teacher standards, like if you're a teacher, we have teacher standards, they also have superintendent standards. We went back and we worked one summer work session on evaluation. And I took the opportunity to go back and look at Dr. Zipolnik's evaluation that we wrote up as a board and kind of go over it. And I mean, I'm still really happy with what we set the standards are and what he's hitting.
Can you describe some of the standards in the evaluation that we went over?
Just like the communication, collaboration, different things like sending the mass emails to the weekly texts, the different things that we asked that him to do coming in.
And I'll add on that too. A major part of that also was the vision, right? So we have to know, the superintendent's the leader of the district, right? So the vision's important, and by developing like the Raider Way and the Get Better Every Day and the everything from that, the student celebration, which I think is by far like the most important thing, like, to recognize our students who are doing that, right? So they're that are being examples of how what a Raider should be, and by celebrating them, and just the improvement on the. I know it's been there's always room for improvement on communication, but I think we've improved on communication. You especially have done a lot. I actually had some. I had some notes in my phone here. I apologize.
And while you're looking, I know like one of the things that bothered me coming in is as a former teacher, I get evaluated and I'm held to the fire. Like I thought the superintendent needed that also.
So if I may, and Tyler, while you're looking this up, if it's okay, I'll kind of give I'll try and again summarize my thoughts by giving an example. So what stuck out in my mind regarding Jared as an individual, and this honestly is just coming to me now. First time, I've only been here a couple months, we sat down to kind of do a review with him before we did evaluations. I think it's okay to share this.
Yeah.
He presented to the entire board a essentially summary or soliloquy of the year in a cap, right? So he looked at how students had performed over an entire year span coming into the end of the year. He did an entire PowerPoint specifically identifying which children had struggled, and then he had gone through and found out. He went an extra layer deeper and started to plug in reasons why that child may have struggled, why that child may have not achieved where they may have been, identified every single one, and then proposed a reason why that child might be struggling, and then proposed a reasonable solution to offer that child to plug them in to a entity, whether it's a team, a sport, a group, any entity that will allow that child to maybe succeed that showed improvement in others in the same area. So after we had concluded that meeting, I had never done this before, so this is my first introduction to it. He had left the room. I had asked more senior board members who had been there before. I had said, I'm pretty impressed by that. I don't know if this is standard proceedings or this is what is supposed to take place. So how does this go down? And if I'm recalling this correctly, for those individuals who were there and who had done this before, that had never taken place, correct?
Correct.
Okay. My opinion is this: we all can get better. That's why life is more of a practice than anything else. You will still get better, right? But I was highly impressed by that moment. Okay. You're also a well-qualified individual, in my opinion. You have a PhD. You have a thesis that's completed. When you look at market compensation or market competitiveness of what areas you may fall into, you're qualified in this realm. You may even be a candidate for university level. I'm happy with how you've done so far. I'm young at this as well. I will get better, we'll all get better, and you will as well, but the character is there to continue to work to serve this district and these kids well. Okay?
I second that, and I will add on that a lot of what you do, we see it as sitting at the board, like, because we deal with you on a daily basis, and I know, some of the staff deals with you a lot more, but so many things go on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize to make this district hum and to keep on going and to continue to get excellent test scores and get high marks with the state, and that all just doesn't happen by accident. So just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done, and look forward to working with you going forward.
Well, no surprise, I have a couple comments. And while I can't share all the wonderful things that everybody else has working with you, we've spent a good amount of time together since I started here. And I've enjoyed our meetings. I thought you've been very helpful. I thought that was great. My problems with this contract are not personal in nature at all. I think committing to the contract of this size, which extends past our emergency levy in 2027, I think is irresponsible. I think that's too far. I don't think we should be spending money. We know we're not going to have, Mario, we're going to be down $1.3 million, and we still don't have a plan for recouping that money yet. So this is one way for us to act fiscally responsible, and we can always renew that once we have that fixed. That's my opinion. I also have a problem with the 20 optional days that you have to work at the elevated per diem rate that has been calculated. I think that's a little excessive. I feel like the contract is very one-sided, as it doesn't protect the district at all. There is no exit clause. I understand everybody here is very happy with you, and that's great. Hopefully one day I'll have that feeling as well, aha. But just looking at the black and white on the contract, I'm very uncomfortable with not having any type of exit clause in the event that you do fail somehow your job. We all have that as well, as a way to out of the contract. So that is, I believe remote working days at 15, I think is a little excessive as well. Other than that, I don't have a problem with the contract. Again, it's not personal in nature. It's all financial based. Those are my problems with it. So thank you for letting me get that out. I appreciate all of you for listening to that. Do you have something else you'd like to add to that, Tyler?
I just don't, I want to say that the Saturdays, the Sundays, the 3 in the mornings, the text messages at 10 o'clock at night, the working on vacations, I think you'll eventually come to see the man and the character that Jared brings to the table. So I can personally attest to that, and I can probably say that I can't say it with certainty, but I can say out of he's overperforming for what the contract is, in my opinion. So I think you'll see that eventually.
Okay, I hope so.
Thank you for, those are objective points, which were very nicely raised. So again, in my mind, looking at more from an objective standpoint, so I gave you my personal opinion on how he functions, but when you look at, so you kind of have to look at this from a threat side as well. So what if they leave, right? Where are we left at? What do we have to recruit in? What competitive salaries then do we have to offer? What does that leave us? When you look at base compensation in general, it's competitive. It is. It's a competitive contract, but it's also not the highest one in the market area. So if there was to be an exit and somebody came in, those are public records. They essentially know that coming into a new rehire position. So then we're actually probably potentially looking at hiring another individual at a higher rate than he may have already agreed to. So
that's actually part of the problem I have too, though, is if Jared ever decides to leave and go over, to another district, and we get another candidate in here, they're going to look at that contract and they're gonna say, oh, I wanna get paid this, and it's the first time
Correct, so I think
not
that,
showing that loyalty.
I understand, what I'm getting at is it's already under 6 different schools.
You want me to?
I don't know what they are, this is going from my head.
So just on base salaries here, because I know this is a point of contention, right? So base salary, information I was given, Jared sits at $118,450. Poland's base salary right now, that's Jared at 2026, should we approve the contract. The Poland right now, 2025, is $139,500. Jackson Milton, $137. Canfield, $127. West Branch, $121. Lowville, $119. Sebring, $114. So I don't think you're out of the realm. You have this is the leader of a district who is held to the highest of standards, and I think that South Range holds the highest standards in the county at minimum. Everybody, I mean, the line for open enrollment is, people are trying to get in here. So the teacher, the opening we had for the second grade position, we had to shut it off, a week in because we had 82 applicants because they want to be a part of South Range. And I think that this I have no problem with the salary and the leadership and the vision that has been brought to the table to match it. So
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned the base salary being at 118, and that might be. But when you put the base salary in and then you add in all of the buyback days he can have with the 20 remote days and buying them back, the vacation days, the 5% additional for investments, and all of those perks, it adds up to be $152,000.
yeah, and I'm sure all these
No.
that I mentioned also have some type of benefits
Nothing like that.
to come with it also.
Not at the numbers that we have provided. It's a very rich contract. It's a very rich contract.
Stability matters.
Understood.
So if you're gonna if you're gonna be stable as a district, I think the leadership position needs to be stable to hold the same vision and values, so we're not switching back and forth from superintendents every 3 years, because I don't want to.
So you're buying him that Jared is going to stay here. You're going to throw money at him, saying, okay, well, we're paying you enough, so don't leave. That's what you're trying to do.
It's not throwing money. We have values here, that a vision we're following, and I think he's doing a great job at his expectations. And if you have we'll have an opportunity as a board to review him, and if you feel that you need to bring it up for an evaluation, we can talk about that at that time.
But based on this contract, we won't be reviewing him until 2031.
No, we do yearly.
And then, that's great. I didn't know that. So we evaluate him, and let's say he just decides he's going to start sleeping his days away and he doesn't want to work anymore, and he starts failing at his job. Now, we still don't have an exit clause. So then what
do you do with the teacher?
I don't know. You tell me.
You put them on, you get performance reviews, and
then
you work with them, and you're trying to help that person to go to your goal. And we are setting standards just as we do with our teachers. And I think it's fair that we have our superintendent as standards, and our teachers have always had standards.
Right.
So we are setting the standards.
And I appreciate that.
And this is new. Our old board president is the one that pushed this. Like, we need to have standards for our superintendent. It never was before. So we set the standards, and then we meet with him and make sure. And if we aren't happy with things on here, or we want things to improve, we tell them. And we expect that they're going to be met.
And if they don't, let's just play devil's advocate here, and let's just assume he decides he doesn't like me, he doesn't want to do it. Let's just pretend that happens. We know that's not going to happen. Let's pretend that happens, and he just doesn't want to do it.
We can
There's
push for
we push for
You can't push for a resignation.
What does the school board can do?
I don't
Hire
know.
and fire.
But
Come on,
no,
the school board.
we can hire and fire.
Yes,
Based
you
on this
can.
contract,
Hire
we
and
can.
fire the treasurer and superintendent.
Where does it say that in the contract? It doesn't.
It doesn't say it in the contract, however,
Revised code.
High
It's a higher
revised code.
revised code.
But don't you have to be a felon to get fired?
No.
No.
Okay, I'm
No.
assuming neither one of you are gonna do that. Okay,
So what it is, this is what the evaluation report. we
not
did.
that I'm looking to fire you.
Look
And
up,
then
seriously,
we
right
would-
now, look
Well,
up the superintendent's standards, the
Have-
Ohio superintendent
so-
standards.
So in
To
it,
look
so
at it.
to understand this, right? That's a reasonable concern, right? In any entity, whether I want tail coverage, whether I want an exit clause, understanding how something may leave is a valuable thing to do, right? Well, under Ohio Revised Code, under performance review, under year-by-year basis, if you build enough of a case, we absolutely could force resignation. It would have to be
Okay.
justifiable, but
And that's
the-
one of the
the
reasons
concern,
we
and it would
started the
take
evaluation.
not a
You
certain-
have to have the evaluation, or you
Yes.
wouldn't have been able to do that.
Correct.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
Or-
My point
That
is-
makes me feel better.
My point is,
Okay, that makes me feel better. I
Yeah.
did not know that, so thank
under
you.
under any entity, whether it's private, public, whatever it is, you need to build demonstrable evidence for whatever decision is being made, and no individual board member can make that decision for ourselves. We have to reach it together. And I am confident that if that needed to occur, which I'm not saying it's going to for either one of you, that you would demonstrate actions that would need to do that, okay? Nobody's perfect. We all have bumps in the road.
Okay.
Frankly, you have had bumps in the road, and that's why I said it's a practice. We will continue to get better. But that does not mean that we would not be able to enforce an exit plan if needed.
And we can set, from what I remember, if the review process, like we sat down with Jared with his reviews, from my understanding, Jared, and correct me if I'm wrong, but should we see an area where it's lacking, like we're not happy with your performance, we can set up additional reviews to set them up more frequently than a yearly review. We check back in with you in 3 months. How did this happen? Where are we at now? And then you start building that case of like, okay, Jared, you're lacking here. You're still lacking here. And then should it get to a point where we have to make a decision, we can use that as evidence for
That's correct.
forcing. You could either ask for a resignation or.
I mean, it's
Correct.
safe to say if he doesn't want to do the job anymore, he's probably on his way out the door anyway, so it's.
Correct.
I mean, there's a two-way street here, and I understand that.
It is a good question. A very good question.
But it does need to give, and this might be patting us like right on ourselves on the back a little bit, but like the fact that the previous boards didn't have any type of evaluation procedure put in place, that left you hanging. That left you
Sure,
in a more
absolutely.
vulnerable spot. So by our old president putting that into effect, he actually built in a safety net of like, hey, this is a way to hold these guys to the fire. So, and that's what I understand how it.
With the hire of Jared, there's a lot of things that we put into effect that weren't into effect from previous boards. For the documentation and everything, and just like this board put in the general meeting, we started to put in the board members as liaisons to start looking into the committees and working with the committees, so the board was made aware of a lot of things that are happening within the district that normally we wouldn't be aware of. So we can add and take away certain things that we want to start including into the board.
Okay, I very much appreciate the conversation. Thanks, guys. You know how I love that conversation.
So do we,
Any other questions?
none for me.
Motion to approve the addendum and that amends the superintendent's employment contract. I know.
Okay. Yeah. I'll move.
Through July 31st, 2026, and extends the superintendent's employment contract for the addendum effective August 1st, 2026 through July 31st, 2031, as previously presented to the board and to keep on file in the treasurer's office. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Tyler moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please take a roll call.
Tyler Bates,
Yes.
Jack Dawson,
Yes.
Laura Chismar,
I'm gonna say now.
Elizabeth Johnson,
Yes.
Terry Loudon.
Yes. Okay. Next, personnel.
All right, I'm doing my job. This resolution accepts the resignation of 2 staff members, Lauren, who taught high school math and left for a teaching and coaching position, and Steve, longtime and beloved high school principal, who left for other employment. I worked closely with Mr. Rohn for 2 years and very appreciative of how much he did for our district for, I think it's 16 years. I know he was nearing retirement and was hopeful that this new position would be a potential rehire in the future. One closer to athletics. He really is akin to 7 through 12 athletics. So we accepted both resignations early in June to allow our interview teams to post the job, screen the applicants, train the interview committee, and begin 3 rounds of interviews. I'm real big on processes and kind of like what we all talk publicly here, a lot of collaboration, a lot of processes to get the best candidates. That could take up to 3 weeks. So we started all that as soon as we got those resignations. We put it on that June, so we had time. And our goal was to move rapidly in the summer because July 10th is a state-established deadline that solidifies public employees and teachers and public educators in their contracts. So employers, school districts can allow educators out after that deadline, but it's not uncommon for someone August 1st to say, hey, I've been offered a better job, and districts say no, because it's very difficult to find really good teachers late in the summer. So June is always like we start to breathe heavy, when we're interviewing and so forth. So our process on this last resolution was to have an expedient timeline, get it on, get the board to approve, and let's interview. And with principals, we actually have board policy language that we had board members involved. We interviewed a lot of people, and it was a really good process, but we hit a home run with Mrs. Ware. I appreciate Liz volunteering.
Any questions? No. Motion to approve the following staff resignation or retirement.
I'll
Liz
second.
moves, Laura seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I don't think we need to take roll call on that.
Do we have to do a roll?
No.
No. Okay, motion to approve adjournment, approve
Motion.
the Southbridge Local School Board, adjourn the meeting. Laura,
Second.
and then Jack seconds.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
The time,
6:14.
6:14.